I never really understood the weight of time until I watched it run out. My name's Hannah, and this is the story of how I learned that love doesn't always mean holding on. Sometimes it means letting go. When I was a kid, I thought family was forever. I thought no matter what, we'd always show up for each other. But somewhere along the way, life got messy, and I became the one holding all the broken pieces. It started when Mom got sick. At first, it was small things. She'd forget where she put her keys. She'd leave the stove on. She'd call me by my aunt's name and laugh it off like it was nothing. But I knew something wasn't right. Doctors called it early onset. I called it the beginning of goodbye. For years, my days blurred into a rhythm of routines: cooking, cleaning, medication, repeat. My friends moved on with their lives, college, jobs, adventures, while mine stayed paused. Every morning, I'd wake before sunrise, make her tea, and remind her who I was. And every night, I'd tuck her in, praying she wouldn't forget me by morning. People called me strong, but they didn't see the nights I'd collapse in the hallway, crying so quietly the walls wouldn't echo it back. Because being strong doesn't mean you don't break. It just means you don't. But the truth, I missed him, because no matter how hard I pretended, part of me still wanted to be his little sister, not his replacement caretaker. One night, I was feeding Mom dinner. Soup, her favorite. But her hands kept shaking, spilling it on her lap. "Mom, it's okay," I said, wiping it off gently. She looked up at me, eyes tired but soft. "You do too much, sweetheart," she whispered. "You have to live your life." I laughed through the lump in my throat. "What life, Mom?" "This is my life." She smiled, that faint, knowing smile mothers give when they see the truth before you do. "Not forever," she said. "Promise me you'll let go when it's time." I didn't answer, because how do you promise to let go of the person who gave you everything? A few weeks later, she was gone. No warning, no final words, just silence. The kind of silence that doesn't end when the crying does. The kind that seeps into your bones and stays there. I remember standing in her room after the funeral, still smelling her perfume on the pillows. I sat on her bed and felt like the world had shrunk to four walls and a heartbeat that wasn't there anymore. My brother came in quietly. His eyes were red, his face pale. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he whispered, "I'm sorry." For a second, I wanted to scream. Sorry wasn't enough. Sorry didn't bring back the years I lost or the nights I spent praying alone. But then, I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw guilt carved deep into his face. And suddenly, I wasn't angry anymore. Because I realized something. We both lost the same person. We just carried the pain differently. A few days later, he asked if I wanted to go through Mom's things. I hesitated, but something told me I should. We sat on the floor, surrounded by boxes, her clothes, her books, her little treasures. It felt like touching memories with bare hands. Then, in the corner of her drawer, I found a small velvet box. Inside was her old silver watch. The glass was a little cracked, the strap worn down, but it was still ticking. I smiled. She used to wear it every Sunday, no matter what. She'd always say, "Time doesn't stop for anyone, Hannah, but we can still make it beautiful." I held it in my hands, and it felt like holding her heartbeat. My brother saw it too. He wiped his eyes and said softly, "You should keep it. You earned it more than anyone." But I shook my head. "No," I said, "you take it." He looked confused. "What? Why would you give me that?" I took a breath, steady and slow. "Because maybe it's time you start keeping track again, for both of us." He stared at me for a long time. Then, with trembling fingers, he put the watch on. And for the first time in years, I saw something change in him. Like maybe he was finally ready to face time, not run from it. Weeks passed. I started breathing again. Not perfectly, but enough. I got a new job, painted my room, planted flowers outside Mom's old window. Grief didn't disappear. It just softened around the edges. Sometimes I'd dream about her. In those dreams, she wasn't sick. She was laughing. And every time, she was wearing that same silver watch. One morning, I woke up to a message from my brother. It was a photo, the watch on his wrist, and under it, he'd written 2 words, "Still ticking." That's when I cried again, but it felt different this time. It wasn't pain, it was release, because I realized what that little act, giving him the watch, really meant. It wasn't about forgiveness or who deserved what. It was about trust. Trusting that maybe, even if time took everything from us, it could still give something back. Now, every time I look at a clock, I don't feel panic anymore. I don't feel the rush of days slipping away or the guilt of moments I can't fix. Instead, I hear Mom's voice. Time doesn't stop for anyone, but we can still make it beautiful. And that's what I try to do. I visit my brother sometimes. We don't talk about the past much. We don't need to. Sometimes we just sit on the porch, quiet, peaceful, while he tats the face of that old silver watch. And when he catches me looking, he smiles. It's the same smile Mom had, the kind that says, "We're okay now." If you've ever carried guilt for too long, if you've ever loved someone so much it hurt, you'll understand this. Healing isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the moment you stop asking why and start whispering, "Thank you." When I gave him that watch, I didn't just give him something that belonged to her. I gave him something that reminded both of us that life, no matter how broken, keeps moving. And that's what I hold on to now. Not the pain, not the guilt, but the time I still have to make something beautiful out of what's left, because time doesn't stop for anyone. But if we're lucky, it keeps ticking just long enough for us to forgive, to heal, and to love again. Time doesn't stop for anyone. It never waits for us to be ready, to heal, or to say goodbye. But if we listen closely, time teaches us. It shows us that love isn't measured in years or words. It's measured in the quiet moments that change us. The nights we stay, the mornings we finally let go, the forgiveness we give, even when no one asks for it. When I gave my brother that watch, I didn't know it then, but I wasn't just giving him something to wear. I was giving him permission. Permission to forgive himself. Permission to start again. And maybe that's what love really is. Not about holding on tighter, but about giving each other the space to grow. Even if it means growing apart first. Now when I think of my mom, I don't picture hospital rooms or medication bottles. I picture her hands, warm, soft, fixing that silver watch, smiling as she said, "Time doesn't stop for anyone, but we can still make it beautiful." And she was right. Because even after she's gone, her love is still ticking. Through me, through him, through every small, beautiful second we're lucky enough to still have. So if you're listening to this right now, and you're holding on to guilt, to loss, to time you can't get back, remember this. You can't change the time that's gone, but you can choose what to do with the time that's left. And maybe, just maybe, that's how you make it beautiful again. I hope this story found you at the right moment. If it did, if it reminded you of someone you love, or helped you see forgiveness a little differently, tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in my place? Would you have kept the watch or given it away? Your stories matter too. Every time you share, it reminds me why I keep telling mine. If this one touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay for the next story. Because sometimes, all it takes is a few words to remind us we're not alone.